What's going on, everyone? Welcome to an edition of the Victory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Victory Life, Dwight Vick. And today I got a great guest, someone I met when he was showing interest in talking to me about my son, Isaiah. And I have today in here Coach Andrew Lacey from Osbourn High School, head basketball coach. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Good morning to you, man, and thanks for jumping on. I know was planning to have you on like 3 months ago, but it was still like, I had other podcasts in front of you and then scheduling. I said, well, you know what? It works out good because basketball season kicks off shortly, right after really Thanksgiving. So we got a lot to talk about, man. I will say this on my platform. I'm very happy here at Osbourn. I moved up to Northern Virginia after my athletic career was slowing down. When I got cut from the Ravens, got married, started a family. I moved up here by way of the 757. My wife is from up here and, met her at Virginia Tech. Moved up here, and I remember living in Fairfax, and it seemed like it was a lot of schools up here then, but it's 10 times more now. And I remember one of the schools that always stood out to me was Osbourn. Osbourn was a school that was really good in football and basketball. Mike Flugraff was coaching basketball. The football program was going to states. And then all of a sudden, the emergence of the west side of Prince William County, a lot of stuff has changed. But I'm glad you're at Osbourn because they definitely can benefit from you. And I want to talk more about your journey, though. I want to dive into who you are because this is your legacy spotlight. Coach, talk about, man, like where you're from, where you grew up, man, and like what really got you into sports, man. Like, who is Coach Lacey?
Man, it's funny. Where I'm from is small town, Montrose, Virginia, the Northern Neck. Not a lot of people know where that's at. So it was great when I got to Osbourn. Coach Ron Lane, when I set up some Northern Neck Montrose, his father's from there and has ventured to, like the Colonial Beach area down, live close to my mom. So I'm from that small community. But when I was in high school, I was in a single A. So I grew up just around sports, single child, single home, and just being my mom. Dad was involved in my life, but mom involved you in sports all the way from little league baseball all the way up to youth basketball. So it was kind of something to do to keep you out of trouble. Your elders would always say, idle minds worship, is a platform for the devil. So they kept us involved. So back, in high school when I got involved, I was a really, really good football player. And I played football, baseball, basketball in high school, did track. But I was a really, really good football player. And basketball, I was, through rec, how it goes, man. Like people see you, so you get into basketball. So I started my high school basketball career. I was 8th grade on JV. Freshman on varsity, so my freshman and sophomore year of high school was really, really good. That's why I kind of got the love for basketball and football and was blessed to win a state title with some really, really good guys.
Where'd you win a state title at? Where'd you win a state title at?
Back then it was Washington Lee High School, Montrose, and now it's Westmoreland High School, where I just came from as the AD and the coach. So then, man, 1998, we were blessed to win it. So there it kind of created, when you're young and your son went through it, you kind of get in the 11th grade and football recruiting started to take off. And I was a really, really good football player. So you taking these visits to, UVA, and I went down and visited Tech as a junior at the spring game when Michael Vick was there. And so I got experience a lot there. So that kind of got, the juices flowing that you could play at the next level. So how I got to basketball was, man, I really wanted to go to University of Richmond to play football. And this was before anybody knew like the SAT prep and all of this. So I was a decent student academically, but just couldn't get over the hump as the test taker in the SAT world. You didn't know, wasn't aware and prone to the SAT prep and all those things. So I took the test, man. We even tried to do the ACT at that time to try just to meet the freshman requirements to get in U of R. So I was crushed when I kept coming up, 20 points short of the freshman requirements there. So when it all went down, man, I just said to myself, I'm done with football. I'm just going to go to college and play college basketball at Bridgewater College. And Coach Leatherman was great. It took an in-home visit. Went and played in team camp at JMU. Assistant coach, Coach Healy, saw me, brought the head coach, Coach Leatherman, over. He was really like how I could shoot the ball and play the game. And then a week and a half later, he's sitting in my living room, me and my mom having dinner and kind of talking about it. So went to Bridgewater for 4 years, played basketball there for 4 years. And you know how it is, man. You in college basketball, it's overseas or coaching. Like you don't want to, you're really trying to avoid the real world as long as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I just, he'd always said you'd be a good coach. He said you should get into coaching. So I went back to my old high school district and just wanted to coach. And they just put me on as the JV baseball coach, head JV basketball, and I was varsity football assistant. And they said, hey, why don't you got enough classes in your business degree, why don't you come in and teach 8th grade math? So that's kind of how I got in to the education realm and been in education for 21 years, everywhere from in classroom teaching in middle school to the director of athletics and dean of students. So then I took that 5 years off to go try set that goal to try the college and I learned a lot from that experience. But high school, I kind of feel is my niche and just taking the information from there.
It's funny you mentioned Bridgewater. That reminds me of a mutual close friend to both of us that connected you and I. Matter of fact, the first time I met you in person, I knew you from Twitter. The first time I met you was at the St. James. You were there doing some recruiting. You came in with your pen and pad and your cell phone, and then I came in the gate, and our mutual close friend, Dr. Newman, the superintendent of Manassas City Schools, introduced us, and we talked. And you mentioned Bridgewater. He went there, as you already know, and he's always talking trash about that Patrick Henry Ashland team if they would have played Hampton High. But that's for another podcast. But I want to talk about something him and I talked about and still talk about frequently. The misconception that there's this huge gap between a Bridgewater or another D3 or D2 versus a D1. And I'm going to tell you what, when I really realized it was when my son, my middle child, my son started to get recruited, and I would go into all these camps, and some of his teammates and guys he played against on the AAU circuit in basketball were at some of those schools. And I was like, hey, man, this kid, he can hoop or she can hoop. They're just overlooked or there's talent. Can you talk about your time at Bridgewater? Because I just feel like it's important to showcase that, because I just feel like a lot of parents in 2025 with these Facebook groups and Twitter and message boards and Instagram reels do not realize the amount of talent at the smallest schools. I remember when I got cut from the Ravens, there were some guys from some smaller schools that made the practice squad. And I was like, and they were good. You saw it in drills, but speak on your time there. How was it?
Man, I didn't even, to tell you the truth, before going to team camp at JMU, I didn't even know Bridgewater and the ODAC existed.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was just the opportunity, what I tell kids now, man, it was the opportunity to play college sports. The level to me at that time didn't matter. I knew I felt I was a Division I athlete just because I was getting recruited in Power 5 conferences to play football. So when I got to Bridgewater, and my freshman year, it didn't really hit the floor a lot, but I played with some really, really great people. And we would, at that time, they were senior heavy, and we was like 7th in the country. And what I don't speak about a lot is, as I shared my story, is I was also recruited by Randolph-Macon to play basketball. And at that time at Randolph-Macon, one of the high-profile coaches, Mike Rose, was the head coach at Randolph-Macon, who's now at Penn State, been at VCU, and a lot, and he has assisted now Jamal Brunt that I played against, that's coaching, in the Big Ten in basketball. So it goes to say that there, if you look at it at Hampton Sydney, the ODAC was one of the toughest Division III conferences in the country. And a lot of those guys, you can go overseas and play overseas at that time. They had Virginia Wesleyan, had the Brandon Adair that he's a big time official now, but he kind of went, spent some time in the league. So it put me on to how hard you have to work just to be at the Division III level. They want to win. It's competitive, even though you get your money's a little different as far as like your academic scholarships and how you get your financial aid to go there. But the people that play there are really, really good. Even in that back in that time, man, you learned we patted ourselves Devin George, that played for the Lakers. He was a D3 kid and went
Yep.
all the way to the NBA. So it kind of made its niche. Once you sit there, you did your research to understand, like, hey, you are playing in one of the best basketball conferences for D3 in the country. It's super, super tough. So that gave me a new light of how it works, but people sleep on it because it's that D1 or bust phase that everybody sees, and on TV, not a lot of Division III games get played and shown, so you don't really know and see a lot of the facilities that they go in. So that gives people a huge misconception that if I'm not D1 or my facilities don't look like this or I don't get all this type of gear, then I'm not nothing. But it's super competitive.
Yeah, it is super competitive, and I think too the D1 or bust mentality is ignorant because first of all, very few people, whether Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, North Carolina, New York, wherever you live, wherever you reside, most people are not going to be privileged to play college sports. It's just whether it's volleyball or track. There's a lot of schools in this country, but very few people will ever get that opportunity, whether it's because of unfortunate circumstances, grades, attitude, behavior, exposure. It just happens like that. So I'm glad you were able to experience it as well as myself. Good opportunity. Um, Talking about opportunity, you talked about your time in the classroom and you enjoy education. God bless you. My mom's been teaching. She recently retired, but she taught collegiately on the high school level. She taught community college, Thomas Nelson, Paul D. Camp. She taught at Norfolk State for several years, Hampton University, Smithfield High School. And I look at her and I remember just lesson plans and books and grade books. And the kids are not so much different, but they're different distractions now. Touch on a little bit about, because we're going to definitely talk about the sports. That's what this is about. But at the same time, I'm really big into mental health and education. Talk about the differences now in the classroom setting and how you balance that between coaching and education. Because I always feel like those are very two demanding jobs where you have to really pour into the youth, the community, and sometimes you don't see the fruits of your labor till later. How do you balance that, and how do you do that?
Um, I balance it. Like I said, you mentioned Dr. Newman, so he's really a huge mentor to me. And when I got into education, and even as I progressed to do the administrative side in education, him and I would talk a lot, and he would always say, make sure that any decision that you make, and when you wake up every day and you go in the classroom, everything you do, it's for the betterment of the students. It's not
Mm-hmm.
for it's you want to make it for the individual, make sure they're all successful, but it's got to be for the ball. So every day I go in the classroom and get a chance to impact and teach, and I've been blessed, man, to travel the country, meet all these people, do all these things, and have a wealth of experience. Um, so I just want to share and educate. That's kind of what talk through experiences, share, educate, let them know that, hey, regardless of what the circumstances and where you are now, if you just keep, chopping wood and you keep trying to figure it out and finding a way, you can make things happen. So that's the approach I take. I really valued it. My time at Richard Bland, I didn't teach at all. Just a coach. You're doing the recruiting, you're coaching. That was great to be a full-time coach. But I came out and became AD. I, dealt with kids, but it's something about the classroom having 133 kids right now that you see every other day sometime, but you build it and you can kind of understand that, hey, this is my impact if they make it to graduation and they, pass and move to the next grade. At least, you got a small piece of you has helped them along the way versus just knowing them from afar, because, man, when we were here and going through, we didn't have half of the distractions. Social media was not even a thing back then.
Yeah.
and trying to, do it for the gram and all those things. So now they have so many more distractions. So if you can just take a time to relate to them, kind of share your experience, how to navigate. I don't believe we can tell them exactly what to do because they get the information way faster than we ever did. We got it from our grandparents and our parents to tell us, hey, don't do this, this, and this. By the time we get a chance to tell a kid don't do this, they've already scrolled through and saw it on social media on their timeline. So now it's the piece of understanding they saw this. Let's have a discussion about the good, bad, and different. So whatever decision you choose to make, you understand the consequences that go with that decision. And as long as you're okay with the consequences that go with that decision, you go right ahead. It's your world. But now it's more of educating them on what they see versus trying to tell them you can't do this, you can't do that, or this is not the way. And that's just my approach of it, is helping them, navigate information.
Well said. And you talk about navigating. Before we talk about how you navigated into coaching, I do want to ask you this. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. Talk about real quick, because in our era, you had film and video and VCR tapes, but now everything is on social media, as you mentioned. So for some of your players and people that see this, what's a game in which you were in your bag when you look back, whether it be football, basketball, you can go to high school, college, when you were like, hey, yo, Vic, I'm going to tell you what, this game right here, this is the one I tell people about or always going to cherish. Or is there a couple of times or a matchup?
Man, like, it's been so many great moments. It's hard. And I can't even say the highlight of my career wouldn't even be in my bag. It was 1998 state championship, sophomore, and a post player, Tyrell Tate, man, he fouled out of the game, and no, it was against Scott. I got to go back with Mississippi. I was playing Hayside, and we had been down. We were battling back, so I started post player. Tyrell Tate, man, he fouled out of the game. Coach Comer throws me in the game as a sophomore, and we laid in the game, and it's a tie game, and I got the ball at the elbow, and we shoot that shot all the time, but something in me, man, kicked it to the wing to a wide open. He's like one of our better shooters, Derek Shelton. He knocks down a three to send us into the state championship. So it's like an assist. It's not even the scoring piece. It was, hey, I made a pass that led to us making it to the state championship. So I think that would be the biggest one. But then it's probably going to be my sophomore year in college, playing Randolph-Macon at a career high, scoring 18 points in coming off the bench to play Randolph-Macon at Bridgewater in a game. So, but I've had a ton of them was in my bag, but I think those carry weight. But non-playing in my bag, which I feel the great is about, is 2018, down 20 at halftime to Wakefield, and see some freshmen and sophomores come back at Verina and win the first state championship in the fashion that they did it. To say the adjustment, the molding of it, that's just kind of like years worth of experience that, hey, I got a chance to go here, understood how tough it was. And here, I think that was my bag, is to see them do it, to say, hey, this was good, motivating. Coach got his ring, now we got one. So that type of thing.
You said it was the comeback against Verina, right?
No, we played at Wakefield in the state title game when I was at Verina. Man, we were down 20. I just told that story to the kid the other day. We were down 20 at half. Kid got a dunk that I wound up recruiting at Richard Bland. Got a dunk at the buzzer. We were talking about something getting ready for the scrimmage, and Wakefield student section was phenomenal. It was 10 seconds to go in the half, and they started counting 5, 4, 3. Kid shoots the ball, thinking it was about to be the buzzer, and it wound up being 4 seconds, and Wakefield throws it deep, and kid dunks the basketball, and we go down 20, and everybody's going crazy, and you got to go in the locker room, and you got to rally 2 freshmen, a sophomore, a junior, that's in that moment, and nobody's ever been there. Me, not even as a coach, you haven't been in that moment. So to come out in the second half to, be able to make some adjustments, kids play the way they played and come out and win. I think that is still probably the ultimate sports moment in my career.
Yeah, no, that I'm just over here. I can see it. and I low key remember it. I've seen so many great moments, and that's the great thing about being around these athletes, these moments. I kind of remember that. That had to be a great feeling, awesome feeling.
It would.
What is it? Go ahead.
It was, man, the day of tryouts this year when basketball season started this year. On that Facebook page, like Virginia Legends and whatnot, they posted the Richmond Time Dispatch story, and it came across my timeline, and I shared it, and I said then the feeling never goes away. Like that is one of the greatest feelings that you'll carry for a lifetime. I got blessed to experience it twice as a player, but also experiencing it as a coach. It's something. Yes, you get the state championship ring, and that's probably what everybody wants, but even when the ring goes away, to look back to say, hey, where I was at on cloud nine as a player, as a coach, as a community was you can't even describe it. So that's kind of the motivation in locker rooms that I'm in that we talk about. It's like if you want something that you never really felt before, just put this work in. And when you get there, like nobody can take that moment in history from you.
Yeah, that Virginia Legends page. I check it every now and then. I'll say this: I love the nostalgia of some of the stuff, and even some of the fun facts I didn't realize or maybe forgot about. However, the word legend and some of these other posts, I'm like, okay, we stretching this a bit. This guy was good, but the word legend, y'all just posting your boys from around the way or friends, like y'all got to come. But I don't say that. I look at it because I'm not a hater, and everybody should be celebrated if you've accomplished something. But I just think, in 2025, the word legend, I'm like, man, legendary moment. Yes, he or she was a legend. That was legendary. But this guy was a good player or okay, but it's all good. I would prefer that versus some of these other group pages where it's just nonstop arguing and trolling.
Yes.
I think that's a negative of social media. I mean, I see coaches doing it. I'm like, dude, you're a coach. What are you doing, man? Like, but I think that need for validation continues to grow every year with adults more than it does kids. You see adults.
That's a fact, and I used to be, man. This probably shows the time of be maturing just as a coach and a professional in the coaching career is, man, you be in some circles, especially like when I was at the college level, and you start to observe how those that are already there use certain things. And social media, I learned about it, and then I was like, man, if I'm gonna post something, it's gonna need to be about my program. It's gonna be uplifted. That way you keep it neutral. So people can't go out here and bash what you're saying. And then, in season, man, I try to stay away from any social media because I know every decision I make as a head coach, everybody think they can do my job. So it's gonna always be somebody saying, oh, they should have did this. So I stay away for my own mental health, man. I stay away from anything that could be negative light so I don't run down that rabbit hole and lose focus of what it's already about. Because if I wouldn't pick my phone up, if I was in a hard time, I needed a coaching question and call you for your advice, then me seeing your opinion on social media is not going to mean that much because you're probably not the one that I'm going to care if it makes you happy or not. So that's, man, I see it and I keep scrolling or I'll miss it and just, go away, but it's not got to be about the wrong thing quick.
Too much time, real quick. And you're right about some of these people, man. I'm a licensed therapist. So the Victory Life movement is about mental health, showcasing, leaving a legacy, promoting legacy. Someone like yourself, Dr. Newman, and other people, phenomenal guests I've had on my platform. That's the whole Victory Life movement, uplifting, empowering, leaving a legacy. I think some people don't realize they become prisoner of the moment, focus on the short term. And, just recently, man, I was talking to some guys down in the 757 where I'm from. I was doing a Tuesday night live with my guy Lee Mary down in Ballin, VA. And I was talking about how 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, the season ended for the regular season in the VHSL. And I said, think about all the seniors whose parents and the kids that didn't do what they were supposed to do eligibility wise, and now their dreams of playing at the next level or whatever their next step is just ended, and they're now trying to figure it out because the state championships are great, the regional championships, the district titles, but you also want to have a plan for life after high school. And I think that's the saddest part because I'm sure, like me, you get a lot of calls and text messages. Hey, Vic, you got a minute? And I'm like, hey, it's your senior year. You know, you was on these little message boards arguing about who was all district. You should have been talking to your school counselors and taking visits and getting in the clearinghouse. And time is of the essence, man, which is why I appreciate what you did at Richard Bland. Let's talk about not just Richard Bland, but your coaching styles. I think people would be surprised. I feel like, as they say in Maryland, you've coached everywhere. I feel like you've coached everywhere, not everywhere, but everywhere.
Dude, it was, man, like when you're young and you're ambitious, as our kids are now, you just want to go, go, go. And you want to be good fast without understanding the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I say this all the time. 21 years in coaching. I've been an assistant coach for 2 years. That was when I first got out of college. I was assistant coach. I did this thing where, man, I just wanted to be a head coach for my own program. Went and became the girls coach and started at a brand new school in Warren County, Skyline. Did that for 2 years. And then I was like, oh man, then they were 2A. And I said, well, I'm going to move up, go to North Stafford. They're 3A. So I had my time in Stafford County. And I did, girls for 4 year great experience. Man, you really got to learn how to teach the game with them because it's about more than just winning and athleticism. But then I was like, I had this thing, I just want to be on the boys' side. So on the boys' side, I became dual endurance, did the PE thing, and went all the way to North Carolina. And that stuck out to me because that same year I went to North Carolina, I applied at Verina. Didn't get an interview. Didn't even get a phone call back. And went there, spent 2 years in North Carolina. After that second year, Verina came back open again. Battled, would I apply? Why would you apply? They didn't even call you back. I applied. Somehow, man, it was between Verina and going to an interview in King George. Verina called, went to the interview, didn't even make it back to North Carolina where, you got offered a job. And I think that's when my career took off because I stopped chasing, trying to win quick, and understood I'm going to have to put in the man hours, how to work, learn how to develop players, understand how to scheme, build your network. And then I just got blessed, put in that hard work, got met with a talented group of kids that in this transfer day and age we were able to keep. As they say now, on Route 5. They were on Route 5 kids, and they were able to stay at home. They believed in the vision to win and make a name for themselves. And man, you just look at the culture that it's changed, that's there. And even though when I was coaching there and became it of how to build a program, at the time, Steve Brown and I, we were close, taught PE together. And Coach Marcus was in football and Boone was on my staff. There, it looks like, man, you built something. Not too many people would tell you about Verina high school basketball prior to 2016. But now, when you talk basketball, there's not a conversation right now in 4A that doesn't have Verina High School as your state championship contender. And football is about to go back and get it up. So you just look back to say, hey, you were part of that process that propelled them to get there. I don't need a ring. I don't need anything. It's just to say, hey, my work hard, it brought something to a community and the people that's attached to it. And then you just keep matriculating. Man, and God has shown a lot of favor to be able to as coaches, sleepless nights, you spend a whole lot of time away from family. I got a 16-year-old kid that's in his junior year. We don't even play. We play on the same nights, or try to get it done in the AAU season. But it's trying to be dad and help your own kid be the best and live out his dreams. But you're also trying to help others to do it. So people just don't really understand the grind and the struggle. But um, that's my piece. Like to make sure that any kid wanting to experience college sports at the next level, all my experiences being at the college level, you're in the circle without being in the circle to some extent. You build this network and you're able to share real life experiences and how things really take place behind the scenes that I feel parents, people in these kids' circles now are not very educated on. They hop on, as you just said, football season ended. All these kids looking for somewhere to go. But if you go back and you chase it, they played somewhere in rec or they did something in travel where somebody told them, hey, if you come here and I'm going to go here, I'm going to be able to get you this. But they didn't have the avenue to get it for them. But our parents are so opportunistic. They just hear this thing sounds really, really good. Let me go over here and try it. Now we sitting here trying to get the real people that's in our circle that want to help us all along. Now we trying to get you to take our crisis and make it your emergency. And you get a culture where kids just miss out and they walk the streets and they get into anything that doesn't tap into the talents that they once had. And I think then we all fail
Yep.
because we didn't, because as I tell my players now, the same people cheering, you're going to be the first one to criticize you when you don't live up to whatever this is they have envisioned for you. So if you're doing it for the people, you're never going to win and succeed because you're doing it for the wrong thing because they going to eventually, they not them top five in your circle, they're going to criticize you once you get to a certain point. Just look at our sports on TV. So that's my drive.
I think it's a great drive. And you dropped so many bars in that. Side note, shout out to Verina, Marcus, Coach Marcus, the football coach, was on my podcast right as the season started. And I've been on them since, if they don't win four this year, and that's not no pressure, but I will be beyond shocked. To me, I know Hampton had a great run. Phoebus knocked them off. I know Phoebus is trying to go for a 5-peat, which would be a record for them. There's some Loudoun County got a team or two, but I'm sorry. Verina is low. If Verina, I'm telling you, it's either going to be an outbreak or something, or we in World War III or something. I know it's high school sports, anything can happen, but they have a phenomenal team. They played a very tough schedule. You gonna say something, Coach?
I need you to go ahead and chop this piece up and send that to Dr. Newman. Because last night he was giving me a hard time. I've been Route 5, and I've said this all football season. So Friday night, we get ready to play a scrimmage at Osbourn. I walk in my office, man, I got this 42-inch TV set up, and I got all these dudes in my office with the Verina Dinwiddie game on, and he's sitting up here laughing, talking about, nah, this ain't gonna be Verina's year, and said, you just can't let it go. I'm always gonna be forever Route 5, but I need you to go ahead and say, hey, there's somebody else other than Coach Lacey that believes Verina, this is their shot.
Hey, listen, I'm a little older than you, man. Even when I played in the '90s, man, that's the benefit of sports, especially prior to social media. When you get to travel outside your region, not just through sports, but trainings or recruiting visits. And when I got to Virginia Tech and then playing against my guys that went to UVA or HBCUs, you meet guys from the 804 and other parts of the country. And my Verina guys, that's when I started to realize, they had some dogs. Like they've always had some dogs. Them in Highland Springs, man. Like now with social media, you get to see it more in the live stream, but that was supposed to be the game of the year between them and Dinwiddie. And we've had quite a few in the Richmond area with Highland Springs and Dinwiddie and Highland Springs and Verina. I looked at my phone at one time. I was like, hey, bro, what? You had to take my glasses. I said, that's the score. But you know what? Newman always talking. Hey, look, I'm gonna hit him up.
It is. He give it even it. So, because we work with a guy that was talking about Louisa, and Louisa is a good football team. Don't get me wrong, and I ain't even there, but he was always giving me a hard time that Louisa could beat Verina. So last night I sent him a text in the group and I said, "Hey, what time does Louisa play next Saturday at 1:30?" and whatnot, and Doc gave me a hard time about Round Five, even though it's all fun and games, but
Yeah, no doubt.
it's just that one thing, man, where Verina was so good to me, made it to the Wall of Fame that's there. It'll always share a piece of me. And I know those guys, the coaches, and there's no better staff when you get former players to come back, former NFL players to come back to pour into this generation speaks volumes. So everything that they're doing there is a testament to, like we say, man, it's the outside piece. Football is a small part of what takes place on Route 5. It's the development piece and the community piece that gets behind it. But yeah, I'm with you. I would be upset, and I'm gonna have a whole lot of text messages if Marcus and them don't pull this thing out. But I think we got a shot at it.
Oh, y'all got a very good shot. I mean, and you last year, I thought y'all were gonna beat them, but credit Phoebus, they had a lot of experience, man. That was a game. Phoebus just, they took advantage of some mistakes by Verona, and Phoebus wanted to make history, and they did, man. I respect the P, even though they are a bit of rivalry. My cousin is starting running back for them, Tyree Diggs. So he had a phenomenal game yesterday. But back to coaching. You mentioned to me when we were talking and catching up a few weeks ago, that Newman and you guys talked, and you had looked into possibly coming into Osbourn a few years earlier, but you weren't ready yet. And they hired Dermia, a guy that's been in the coaching range for a long time. And they lost a great coach in Rocky Carter. His tenure came to an end, but he had a great run there. And I mentioned Flu Grab. Osbourn basketball, maybe to this new generation, these kids don't really understand the history. And that's just not just the kids at Osbourn. I mean, honestly, I talk to these youngins all the time. I'm always working with kids, and whether it's hip hop, culture, music, I'm like, y'all got to get online and look back and see how this all started, but that's for another podcast. Osbourn basketball, you are the head coach. I met you when you were at Richard Bland, and you did a great job there. You were like I said, you were in St. James. It was, as a matter of fact, the game we were watching was Hayfield versus South Lakes, and Carlos Poindexter was coaching against Mike Desmond. It was Jordan Scott and all those guys. And then my son actually later that day, played Verina in basketball. Yeah. So you gave me a number. And the next thing I knew, I saw on Instagram, Inside Nova, you're the head coach of Osbourn. What made you do it this time? And how are things going so far?
So what made it happen this time? Sometimes, man, you think back, and people ask me this all the time about why did you leave Verina when you left, and how you feel about it. I have no regrets for leaving. You see this in the coaching, but the challenge of rebuilding a program, watching it grow, was it. So Osbourn, it started in 2005 when I was fresh out of college. Osbourn was really good in football. Had the Brandon Hogan, and Schultz was the coach. I went to a football coaching clinic at the Marriott in West Springfield, not West Springfield, the Marriott that's up there by Westfield, right up the street from up 28. And Schultz was talking, he showed all these film, and it was a spray wing team. These kids just running around doing everything. Then that next year, they played Sims at Oscar Smith. So you knew that the talent was there. So that stuck with me to say, man, they got some really good athletes, at least in the football side, they're winning. At that time, it wasn't there. So fast forward, when I got to Richard Bland, Dr. Newman was there, and he called me. He said, hey, we got some kids up here that can play basketball, but they kind of need a couple more years of development. So I get in a vehicle. I drive up there, meet Rocky. We go over to Mets. And at that point in time, it was the kid Connor Withers was one that had, Draco Holman, and there's another kid, John, I can't remember his last name, was in there. And I was like, man, these guys are really, really good. Obviously, Connor just, signed the overseas contract. So
Yeah,
that lets you know.
Connor's been cooking.
And so we were trying hard to get in there. And I was like, man, they can play basketball here too. So you always knew they had athletes. So we're in that one. And you was trying to think, just college life, good, bad, and different at the time that was there. And I'd always said, man, I was tired of rebuilding programs. What I said to myself, I wanted to go somewhere where I was just leaving it. Somebody left it really, really good, and you taking it somewhere. So I had Richard Bland, and it came open that time, and Rocky left. And crazy part, Rocky and I had just spoke because JMU, he showed me Tay Barber. So I was like, man, they got some hoopers here. But it was just that, man, do you want to stay a college coach? Do you want to go back into high school? And you fought and you worked hard for all these years to get to the college level. Why you want to kind of regress? So I slowed my feet, decided, man, I'm just going to stay at Richard Bland for another year. So after coaching that year at Richard Bland, that's there. Most people may know, and Dr. Newton, man, I had some serious health issues. That's what I said, man, God's good. Heart was at 10%, congestive heart failure about a year ago. So you had to take a step away. So in that way, you're taking a step away, trying to figure out what your next step is. And Doc was like, well, you ain't getting ready to get back into coaching. He was like, yeah, you're not going to coach anyway. Take the year off. So I became athletic director. They let me coach basketball, at Westmoreland, but being an AD was kind of a little less stressful. So we came up and we played Osbourn last year. And when I had a single, it was a 1A school when we were playing them, but they were just talented and, athletic. And I was like, man, 6A, Sells at Verina was 5. I was like, all right, this is probably going to be the closest situation mentally in my head that I had to what I was at Verina. Facilities, small community, opportunity to build this focus on the kids and the right thing. So when it came open, I applied. And be out, him and I, we really didn't talk about it. He was still on the pitch of I wasn't going to coach basketball. He's still on the pitch that I shouldn't be coaching with my health issues. But so I didn't. So I went through the whole process. And what people don't know is he probably found out about it at the end when I think when the recommendation was made. But for me, as the little brother, that's not the blood little brother, and you get an opportunity to go somewhere and work for a person that's your mentor in education and professionalism, you get that opportunity. You don't get them too many times. Like those don't pass too many times. So you got to step into the opportunity. So I did. Gave up. Not being in the classroom, going back into the classroom to coach basketball there. I just felt it was right. It was the right time. Somewhere where I could finish. I only got 10 years left to get to 30 and just an education piece. But it's somewhere where I feel, hey, I could do that and be, happy. And I like, and outside of that, man, I really like the school system. The community has been very, very, they've taken me in. And it's all the alumni that coach and come back, and everybody, has something positive to say. So it gave me the Verina feel that, hey, you can go here, get the support that you need. Kids, have the ability to compete. So I just decided, man, we're gonna step out here on faith and we're gonna take it. And obviously in my coaching career, I've never looked at records to say how many games the team won and inherited. So them winning 6 games the year before wasn't anything that turned me away. So, being that now, been in this situation before. We're super young. That's there by design. We had 3 seniors in
Wow.
the whole program. So the varsity team, we got 12 on freshmen, 13 on JV, 14 on varsity, and of that makeup of varsity, man, like I said, it's 3 seniors. So we just brought another freshman up yesterday from JV. So it's 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, I think about 4 juniors, and the 3 seniors. So a lot of and my thing is, hey, it's going to take some time, but I think if you can instill the right things in them this year, get your process in place, get the fundamentals, get your core values of working hard, being on time for class, academics, being a good person, understanding what it takes to just win in basketball and life, then next year we'll be able to, they'll understand what the expectation is. Then they can play freely. They can be themselves with the confidence they had. And then your freshman team is all freshmen, and we got some freshmen and sophomores that are mixing on that JV team. So I kind of used the design a little bit. It's what I did was at Verina, and kind of gonna trust that process. And share my vision of, hey, we're gonna do the things right. We're gonna practice a lot. We often talk about when people come and say your standard in that area, as you know, man, it's Patriot is the standard, and then Battlefield is the standard. So when you coming in and you speak of how my ties to the state comes from, me obviously at Verona, we played anybody anywhere. We didn't
Sure
run
did.
from competition. We didn't run from competition. And then you go to college, and that time at Verona helped build networks. So down being in here, obviously, like Carlos and I are close. Before I left Verona, I recruited Andy that's at Verona now, and I know Sherm because I was in there recruiting his players. So you understood what the standard was to come in. So if those guys telling them, man, like, in order for you to be in those conversations, to compete in those games, you got to learn. We got to do the things that they do, and we got to put the time in that they put in. And that's really what been the sale, man. I've been blessed, man. We had people were telling me, said, man, we get about 35, 40 kids to come out, man. We had 57 dudes wanting to be a part of Osbourn
Yes.
basketball this year. And I was banking on 37, had my little sheet ready with all the kids that said they was going to try. And it was 37, man. I walked in, tryouts that first day, and they was like, hey, coach, man, we got 57 people in here. And I was like, wow. And you trying to do it. So that made me feel really, really good to say, hey, somewhere, somehow these kids are trying to help be a part of something new. Parents have been great. They have jumped in. We played all summer, travel in the fall with fall practice, parents putting the kids in there. We get buses, man. It's been a great onboarding process. And I say that, we had one scrimmage, but the thing is, as I tell the kids, everybody likes Coach Lacey now because it ain't a real game and playing time's not involved. So I mean, everybody, is a fan now. But hopefully, we don't have those issues. They understand, trust the process. Kids do what it is, and it'll pay off, in the end. But it's been a really, really good experience. Administration is super, super supportive, but we don't ask for a lot. I never had a lot in coaching. You always had
Yeah.
to do a lot with a little. So we don't ask for a lot, man. We got basketball, we got rim, we got practice gear, we got uniforms, we got huddles, which is good. So you can watch film, but we use the resources that we got. We got really, really good resources, man. And we just trying to give the community something to be proud of. Again, like those days when the Hogans were in there and you see them flying up and down a basketball court and whatnot. And we're off to a good start. We battled our first scrimmage. We battled Mountain View really, really well. And shoot, 2 sophomores and a junior led us in scoring. And some other pieces that we don't have a lot of varsity basketball experience. That's going to be our downfall this year. Is we're going to have some moments where we're going to look like no varsity experience, but you're going to
But
see us going in the right direction.
you know what though? I'm gonna say this. I'm the 57 kids. I'm not surprised. You know why? Because the pushback I've gotten, because I'm well connected to Osbourn and a handful of Prince William County schools. Like I'm very well connected with a lot of them, right? And The biggest difference I see with the successful programs in football, basketball, volleyball, track and field, your sports, baseball, the biggest difference I've seen, people say, well, if you live in Gainesville, they have all these. I'm like, no, it is culture. It's culture. It's culture and expectations. Because the fact is, you're a newer coach. You have credibility. Word got around, and more kids were interested. You and I were young men once, and when you played and when I played, I played for legendary coaches, Mike Smith, Coach Broward, then I played for Coach Beamer. When you have the expectations, kids will be like, yo, I'm gonna try out this year. I want to be a part of that. Like, yeah, there's a few kids who might be scared, but when your team is struggling to win and they're late to summer league games and kids are vaping in the bathroom and skipping class and then they go and start the next day of the game and they miss all summer, other kids see that. So they're like, Slim, I ain't playing for them. They not serious. Or I'm a transfer. Culture is everything. It starts with your AD. Shout out to John over there at Osbourn. Your AD, your principal, your culture. From everything from how you practice is going to speak volumes on game day because the work's been done prior. And you know exactly what I mean. By the way, word did get to me that even though everybody loves you right now because it's still early, but you guys kick it off soon. I got word that you came in about rules, conditioning, weight room. Talk about, again, some programs say, well, that's what we do, but you've been really setting the tone, not in a negative way, but right, letting them know this is what we're going to be about, right?
Dude, it's been great. Like I said, I think that you most of the time people want, but you know this, man. We want what everybody else has. That's why kids transfer. To me, I could be wrong. Kids transfer and parents agree because they want what other people have versus not understanding you can have it. You just got to do what they do. So we came in, man. We lift all fall 2 days a week. Phenomenal, man. If you see, you went to college, you go to college, they take a picture of it as a freshman, your first day on campus.
Yeah.
And how you look. And then at the end of summer workouts, you get another picture and you look chiseled, you look good, and you like, man, I like this guy. I like the guy that I am now. So you happy to go in there, you go out there and you see how the weight room transform your game. So we average in the fall, man, we average about 23 kids in the weight room 2 days a week. We now we lift one day. But then it's the study hall. The biggest testament to the kids and the structure was this. Last year I heard we offer Saturday Learning Academy. My kids have to pull 5 hours of study hall a week. So we have allotted time but on those late practices where they have to do hour and a half, 2 hours of study hall, then they go practice, and then they get the chance to go home. Because, Manassas City does the federal meal program, so they feed them after school. So yesterday morning we played Friday night, 11:30. Yesterday morning, freshman team, JV team, and varsity guys between 9 and 12 showed up for Saturday Learning Academy and then went in, and every program practiced and varsity lifted yesterday. And you had teachers being surprised and saying, hey, coach, Mondays and Thursdays, if you want us to, we can come to your study hall to help your kid. So that's what it's about. Like when the kids see and the parents see that it's bigger than basketball, man. It is. I'm in sports. I'm a numbers guy. So I do read the papers and I read the comments and I read all the things that they say about our kids at Manassas City. So I'm a competitor. So my goal is to prove them people wrong, to let you know.
Absolutely.
In this building, we have kids that can pass the standardized testing. They can make your season better. They can go. That's my drive. So we're going to be in the study hall. We're going to be here. So now the next time you speak of those kids, you can be like, man, those kids really got it done. And it's about them. And that's what we're doing, man. And that's what I told the parents at the parent meeting. It's bigger than that. I want your child to be the best version of themselves. Don't, we ain't going to do these excuses thing. Before you knock it, have them here, see the result, man. And the structure's been great. Don't be late. Show up to practice. Be 10 minutes early. We dress, ready to go. We watch film. They're always in film. They get the chalkboard talk. They get character development during that period of time. Man, we do a lot, but a little. But I think that's what this culture needs. I feel that's what our kids at Osbourn need to do the dreams that they want to do. It's that, man, I've already been over to watch Mets tryouts. Just being visible with the staff at the middle school, I think goes huge just because they need to put a face with a name in and know that, hey, I'm right across the street. Come and join us.
Yeah, man, I love it, and I'm glad you're doing it. And I have no doubt next year you'll have 69, 71 kids because kids will see that and they want to be a part of it, man. And that means even people may even move into the Manassas City District. Yeah, I said it. That's what people do. They will find a way to get their kid. I know you didn't say that for those watching. Dwight Vick did. But people moved to Woodbridge. I know kids that were driving from the Bristol area to play in the Woodbridge district for football. And they got into the specialty program. I know Osbourn, Manassas City is its own entity because it's not county. But my point being is culture is something that's infectious and it makes people want to be a part of it. And I love the family atmosphere that has always been in Osbourn. It's a great community, man. I worked at Mets in 2008. I've spoken at Osbourn High School years ago. The years they went to state, I was the pep rally speaker, keynote speaker. I've always loved my time working with the Osbourn City and other schools as well. And I'm excited you're there. I really am. And I think this is actually going to be a great year in future years to come because it's the district now. The Cedar Run is a district full of new faces, but some of these guys like yourself know the game and are familiar with the game. And what I mean is you're new at Osbourn. You got my guy at OP. He's a new coach. Unity Reed has a new coach. Battlefield has, I think, Coach DJ. He's been training kids here with Chauncey, so he's familiar. So there's a lot of new guys, and I've always loved the fact that I was spoiled. I played in the Peninsula District during the Golden Era, football and basketball. You're talking about an era where 9-1, 8-2, you probably missed the playoffs in football. Or in basketball, it was us and Ferguson and Warwick and Bethel, Iverson and Rutland. So, I feel like when the district is good to great, it makes everybody better. It makes you a better coach. It makes players prepare more because there's a game to circle. Yes, Patriot is the standard, but, and Battlefield has a history. I know they slipped the last couple of years, but I think they're going to get better. I like the fact that you're creating some. Gainesville's good. Powers and those guys over there. This is good for the region. This is good for the district. I do have one last question before we wrap up. Can you talk a little bit about some players? I don't need secrets and scheme, but some players who people are going to be pleasantly surprised about. Some guys that you're like, hey, they're doing a good job. I know you got a group of kids that I'm familiar with who play in my VA Legends organization.
Look, man, that's the tough part because I don't want kids to feel that they're slighted. So I'm going to answer your question, but I think all 14 pieces are there by design. They each have a role. All of them's role is not to score. So I think that's the first part. But we all know Caleb Smoot. Smoot is about as good as an athlete that I've been around. And I've been around a lot of really, really good ones and seen a lot of really good ones. And he just has that. He's got that it factor where he's a huge competitor. But then, we have a kid in Quentin Pendleton who, if you saw his body in June and you look at his body now, you will be amazed that as a junior, he started point guard for him last year and he was a frail kid. And he's going to be magnificent. Just trying to transfer him as on the ball as a lead guard to get him on the wing, man. His best player of the fall was, man, we were down in Harrisonburg and first play of the game, man, he drives right down the middle and just punches on the kid. So you see that. Then we have another kid that's like he reminds me so much of Tyrese Jenkins because he's at the forward, he can shoot the three, he can handle the ball, he can rebound, and Dominique Winston, he's really, really, good. And they all learning new roles that's there. And then, you got that senior leadership, got the kid Tucker Signs. He's a really good, he just comes to work every day. He lifts. He's a good role player. He makes sure that everybody that he's a great, that leadership piece from the senior standpoint. Then we got, another sophomore inside, got two guys inside, three. We got another freshman that's a left-handed kid. Jeremiah brings the toughness, and then you got a finesse big, and then you got a rebounding big, and got Zion and Liddell is in there, man. So the pieces, depth is another issue. Not an issue, but another thing most teams have, and I think we got depth. We got size and our wings coming off the bench, and some juniors that will be good that can defend. And I think the pivotal move that's there is I moved up a freshman yesterday, Brandon Davis. Tiny little thing, man. I wish he'd have been around in June to hit the weights, but he's that basketball guy. We struggle to take care of the basketball, self-inflicted on Friday night on transitions, making right decisions, letting the ball go through. So I brought him up yesterday, and it was just a test, just to see how he did it. But he had two plays in practice yesterday with guys that's been around since June that's a lot stronger than him. It just wowed you. And he understood the game. He's got a decent shot. He hits the kid with an in and out. But then there's one time, man, he drove right down to the basket, got a 6'5" kid in the air, and he was able just to, not looking out of bounds, he's wrapping behind the back pass right around that kid to a big that was wide open. And I was like, yeah, he's got to stay up here. And since everybody else is young, we're all getting ready to learn through this thing, and we're going to grow together, and we just going to trust that process.
Hey, Zion, I know him. He's a worker. Dom, these are all my kids. Brandon Davis, when I run this, I know his mom and dad are going to smile because I've been telling Carrie and Damien. Brandon's always been, and there's four of them. There's four brothers. Brandon was always my guy. Quitting all of them are my guys, but Brandon has always been a guy I love to watch play. He's small, but I always say a lot of guys are small, but you can play big, and he has heart, and he's a good player. He's a very good basketball player. I mean, this level where you're at, it's going to be some learning curves, some bumps and bruises, but I'm just smiling, man, because we didn't talk about this prior to recording this episode. So to hear that, I was wondering how he was doing, because during the season, I don't really ask parents until like it really gets going. Then I say, hey, how's it going? Because, some parents, I was talking to my guy, Anthony Mills over at Potomac, and he's been in the business a long time like you, and he talks about the dynamics and sometimes the drama or the issues, because you can't make everybody happy. And it's not just about winning, it's about the relationships and the roles on the team. And you got to look at the chemistry, and you just don't want to bring a guy up or put a guy on the team just to do it. But you know that. You're doing a great job, and I'm excited for the future for you, Coach. I'm excited. Hey. I'm going to be out there, though. I told you that. I'm going to be out there, man, and I'm going to come out to the practice and get some interviews, and also I'll be at the games. I know Dr. Newman stands in the corner with his overcoat on like he's a boss. He in the corner. I'm like, sit down and watch the game, man. Like, you ain't security, man. You know what I mean? But
the going joke right now with him is, one, he's a diehard Eagles fan. So today is
right. Today at 4:15, right?
And I'm a Cowboy fan, so I always say to him in our friend group, I said, man, it's awfully hard working for Jerry Jones Jr. Because it's great that he's hands on and he's there. So just how bad he likes the Cowboys, and you give him a reference of a Cowboy owner versus the Eagles owners, just that way, just to keep that jab there. But no, man, he's very, very good, man. That's my guy.
Yeah, I love him, man. That's my dude, man. And I love what you about to do. I love what you stand for, man. Just to wrap up this episode, final thoughts before we close out. You've been around this game a long time, man. You have great plans for Osbourn. I know I'm one of many people that think you're going to do a great job. And what that means is I'm not going to make a proclamation about state championships or 80% of your guys going to the next level. I'm talking about life after basketball. I think you're going to do a great job with that. But really quickly, Coach, perspective, life lessons. Your journey so far. You had a health scare, God has blessed you with continued life on this planet. Your father, you've coached, you helped a lot of kids. A lot of kids. I know you were humble today, but you'll be back on to maybe flex a little bit about some people you've helped. But what has this situation, this journey taught you so far, and what are your final words on this episode on your Legacy Spotlight?
Um, Man, I think I said it yesterday in a post. If a man at 40 still views the world the same way he did in his 20s, then he's looking at it the wrong way. And that means a lot to me because when I was 20, 25, growing up, and I made some impulsive decisions as far as the coaching and the profession. But to know what I know now, uh, I'm at peace with obviously still being able to walk the earth. I'm at peace with what is to come. I'm a lot more mature in my thoughts, in my actions, and the moves that need to be made versus being, having some type of ego to say, I got to do it this way. This is that way. I'm a little bit more open to perspective, I would say. So for me, man, it would be to say I went to Osbourn and I was able to impact lives. And when I say lives, I'm talking about lives in the building of Osbourn. From my colleagues teaching, they come in my classroom to watch me teach, or we share the student, to fellow coaches. Copeland is on my staff, but him and I have been close since, football season in Canada. If I can impact some people at my daily walk at Osbourn that helps change their life or help them better the lives of the kids that and the stakeholders that we have, I would then consider it a success. And yes, I want to win games, but that would mean more to me than winning games. The winning the championships and winning the games would be like the cherry on top, because the big picture is they can now go out and take these things that's been instilled and be powerful people of their own.
Well said, man. It's going to be a great time. I appreciate you jumping on this morning as we record this episode, man. And good luck to you. Shout out to Copeland. That's my guy. He's coaching my AU organization. I think he said he's going to come back. He's like you. He never stops. Football, basketball. But he's a great man. He's a great leader, man. He's a great asset to your staff, man. I'm excited for those kids, Smoot and company, that they have you. And as I said earlier, good luck to you this season. For those watching, please get out and support Osbourn High School. Support all these kids, female and male student athletes and the student bodies, man. It's a great opportunity, man. Enjoy the moment because it goes by fast. Everybody, we appreciate you for watching. I'm your host, owner and founder of Victory Life, Dwight Vick, on behalf of Osbourn Basketball, head coach Andrew Lacey. We thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, spread love, not hate. And also, as I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you leave a positive impact and a great legacy. I'm Dwight Vick. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.